Welcome back. Where we were last time is we made a temporary game object, class, and we're going to use that to make power-ups. So this time I want to make the spawning system that will spawn random power-ups. So I'm going to be working exclusively in main right now. Make the font a little larger. So here's what I'm thinking. If I want there to be power-ups, I need variables that will hold the power-ups. Right now we've got this temporary one. I'm going to go ahead and remove that because I don't want it anymore. So when I delete the variable, you see on the right-hand side here, there's all these compile time errors. So let's just go ahead and delete everything having to do with those. Okay. So, I need variables to hold my power-ups. So I'm thinking it's possible that there's going to be multiple power-ups on the screen at the same time. So I don't want just a single variable for a power-up. I think I want to be able to support a whole list of power-ups. So I'm going to make a new array list, only my power-ups are not game objects. They are temporary game objects. And I'll call this power-ups. And then just like I did for my other lists, I got to create a new list. Because this just creates a variable that could hold a list. I'm not actually making my list unless I say new array list. So down here, you know what you could do really if you wanted to. Just copy and paste. Powerups. Except it's temp game object. You always got to think, what's the data type? Okay, so now I've got the ability to have power-ups. Here's what I think I want to do. I want to randomly add a power-up every 10 times the draw loop happens. So let's create an integer variable called timer that starts at 0 and counts up. I'm going to call it Powerup timer, actually. Because maybe I want other timers in the game. Alright, so inside draw, this is where I'm going to add to the timer. So Powerup timer, no, it's not. Inside draw, I'm going to run a new method called spawn Powerup. Okay, it's red because I haven't made the method yet. But if you hover over this, you can tell it to create the method. And it created it down here a little bit. So here's spawn Powerup. So what's happening is I'm running spawn Powerup every single draw loop. And here's where I'm going to add one to my timer. So Powerup timer ++. Now, I want it to spawn a power-up randomly once every 10 times this runs. So I'm going to say if Powerup timer is bigger than or equal to 10, then I'm going to spawn new power-up. If you know how this is going to go, you can go ahead and do it yourself. But an important thing is I need to set the timer back to 0 again. Because otherwise it would only do this once. So I'm counting up. If it's more than 10, I'll spawn it and I'll set the timer back to 0 so that next time I come past, I'm counting up from 0 again. Okay, well I don't want to spawn one power-up every 10 seconds. That's going to be too fast. I want to do it randomly. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say chance equals math.random times, well, let's just do math.random. So this is between 0 and 1. And so now I can say if chance is greater than 0. Or let's do if chance is less than 0.7. So this means there's a 70% chance that that's going to be true, because this is randomly between 0 and 1. So there's a 70% chance it's going to be less than 0.7. So that's a pretty good chance that we're going to create it every 10. I don't want it to be that big a chance. I want to make it 40% chance. Okay, so let's make the new power-up. What do I want to say? I want to say, I'm thinking I want to make a new power-up, but what's the data type for power-up? Oh yeah, they're temp game objects. I'm going to call it Powerup, and then I'm going to create one. I want to create it at a random xy. Oh yeah, but remember we had that. It's a good thing we wrote that set random x, set random y. So let's do the same thing that we did before for this. So I'm going to create it at 0, 0 with speed 0, 0. And then I forgot what it wants in the constructor, so let's look. It wants a diameter, an image, and a string and a time. So the diameter is 30. The image is Powerup Image. That's not going to work, but we'll fix it in a second. I'm going to call it Powerup, and then let's give it a random time. That's nice. So int time equals math.random. So maybe, so this is going to be between 0 and 100, but maybe I want to start with 100. So it's going to be randomly, well, let's start with 50. So it'll be randomly always 50, but then possibly up to 100 more. So between 50 and 150. Okay, and so then time is going to be the time left. All right, so why doesn't it know about Powerup Image? The reason why, if you go up, is because here we declare Powerup Image inside of setup. So if you declare it inside of setup, this variable only exists inside of setup, so we can't use it down there. So instead, let's delete that, so we're not declaring it there anymore. We still want to assign the variable here, but instead let's declare it up here. So p-image, Powerup Image. Is that what I called it? No. I called it Powerup Image, all lowercase. Okay, so I declare it at the top, I create it inside setup, and now, down here inside Powerup spawn, it knows what that is. Okay, so where are we? We got this timer going on, we are creating a new object, but we need to add the object to our list. So what was the name of the list? I think I called it Powerups. Yeah, so powerups.add Powerup. The most popular mistake to make here is powerup.powerup. Sorry, powerup.add Powerup or powerup.add Powerups. Pay close attention. Something with an S at the end is plural, so it probably is talking about a list. Powerup is singular, so it is probably talking about your singular game object. So you want to ask your list to add the game object. It's got to be in that order, because remember, whatever method you have here, this is the object that's running the method for you. So if you want something to get added, you have to ask the list politely to add the object. Alright, so far so good. So you might be really anxious to run it. Let's run it. Oh, nothing's happening. And the reason nothing's happening is because we're doing a great job of adding things to the list, but we didn't tell it to display anywhere. So anything, we want it to display all the time, and anything that's going to run all the time has to be inside draw. So let's go ahead and put that inside draw. Just like we're looping over all the asteroids, just like we're looping over all the bullets, let's add our own loop to loop over all of the power-ups. So lock is less than powerups.size. If you wanna copy and paste and then just change the things that need to be changed, that's okay. I can't say gameObj powerup equals powerups.getLock. Think why? It's because a powerup is not a gameObj. It is a temp gameObj. So that's one of those things you have to think about all the time in programming, is what kind of object is the thing that I'm trying to work with. Okay, but now we want to do the same things we always do. We want to update and we want to draw. So it's going to be the exact same as the other ones. And I think that's it. We now have a way of putting new objects into the game. Once they're in the game, we update and draw them. So let's just watch and see what happens. Oh, they're all... See, I'm seeing where are they? Oh, they seem like they're up here in the corner. It's because we forgot to actually put them somewhere. We told them to create at 0, 0, but then I forgot to move them. So let's say powerup.set random x position. So we're going to set random x between 0 and 600. Let's not do between 0 and 600. Let's do between 50 and 550. So it never appears on like the very, very edge of the screen. And then I'll set the random y in the same range before we add it to the list. Okay, let's try it again. So here they are spontaneously appearing and disappearing. Something I'm noticing is maybe we want to make it less likely that they'll appear, because that's a lot of power-ups. I'm also thinking maybe we don't want it to appear directly on top of my ship already. So let's do this. Let's make the chance a lot smaller. Let's make it like a 4% chance. The time it's on the screen seems okay to me. And then let's set the random Y position. The lowest down on the screen it can go, let's make it be 450. Maybe it's also worth not making this 10. Instead of 10, let's make it 30. And run it again. Well, this is very slow to watch. In an actual game, this is probably right, because you wouldn't want a power-up to appear very frequently. This is definitely too slow to watch. There's one. Oh, that was a very short amount of time. So now I'm thinking maybe we should have it stay on the screen for longer now that it's longer intervals between creation. Anyway, you can tinker with that kind of thing. Thank you very much. Come back next time.